We can start the meeting.
Turned on the video and this one doesn't seem to work.
Dawn, can you hear me? It looks like the community development team is having a hard time logging in.
Okay, It doesn't seem to like the video.
Click on the arrow.
Something popped up down here. Does it matter or?
Rich, we can hear you.
I guess that's gonna go with audio and not the screen.
Except I have presentation.
You're still muted. Can Don bring it up? Don, you should be able to mute us manually.
Or let's restart this entire computer. Yeah, I can't do anything than that.
Sorry, but we gotta do it. Let's restart.
Hello?
Hi, we can we can hear you, Scott.
Oh, good. Sorry, I'm sitting at an airport with a whole bunch of stuff going on around me. I'm not hearing you guys now.
I said every time I tried to put you on mute, but every time you move, it takes you off mute.
Okay, I won't move.
Community Development is still having problems logging on, and Rich is the one that's giving a presentation. So we need that set up to work. So sorry for the delay.
All right, thank God.
Might need to position it.
Okay. Okay, we apologize for the technical difficulties. I think we are evenly seen and heard now.
Are we ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Oh, okay, well, we can finally bring this meeting of the Twin City, the City of Kingman meeting of the Board of Adjustments for December 7th, 2020. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Russell,
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds, Commissioner Ortman,
Here. Did you hear me? Sorry.
yes, we got you, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mossberg, Commissioner Maroney, Commissioner Maroney, you can hit your space bar to talk, Commissioner Maroney.
I am here.
Thank you. And Commissioner Furman.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. On our agenda, we have no old business. We have no minutes to approve. So we will go straight to item number 3, new business, the election of a chair and vice chair for the 2021 year in accordance with the section 28-110, the City of Kingman zoning and ordinance of the Board of Adjustments needs to appoint a chair and vice chair each year. Alan Mossberg currently serves as chair. Ali Reynolds serves as vice chair. Ali Reynolds, I understand, has resigned, and but Commissioner Reynolds says he is willing to run for another term, and they can do that. So I'm open for nominations for a chairman for the Board of Adjustments.
And Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, Chairman Mossberg indicated that he would be interested in serving again as chairman.
Do I hear any nominations? Then I will nominate Alan Mossberg for another year as chairman. Do I hear a second?
Wes Maroney, I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further comment? If not, all the commissioners indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. As for vice chair, does anyone want to be nominated for vice chair?
This is Commissioner Furman. I'd like to be nominated.
Commissioner Thurman indicates an interest in vice chair. I will nominate Commissioner Thurman as vice chair.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded, that Commissioner Thurman be vice chair for the year 2021. Any further comments? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you.
Moving on. So, just sorry to interrupt here. So as vice chair, Vice Chair Furman, you would be responsible for running the meeting from here on out. And I can certainly help you if you have any questions with anything, but in the absence of Chairman Mossberg, the vice chair is responsible for the meeting.
Understood. And I'd love the help.
Be happy to give it to you.
Thank you.
So the chairman would announce the next item on the agenda, which is the variance case. I'm sorry, the vice chairman.
Hold on, I can run the meeting.
Okay, let me get my agenda. I'm sorry. Okay. A request for discount signs applicant and Kingman Plaza LLC, Ben Parn, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, property owner for a variance from section 25.000 sign code of the zoning ordinance of the city of Kingman. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a second freestanding sign at the rear of property located at 3340 East Andy Devine Avenue for CAL Ranch. The sign code normally allows only one freestanding sign for each street a property abuts when the property has 600 feet of footage or less. The subject property is 5.06 acres and is further described as a portion of Lot 6 and Lot 7, Kingman Air Rail Manor, Tract 1013, third amended, Section 8, P.21N, R.16W of the G and SRM, Mojave County, Arizona.
Good evening, Vice Chair Furman and members of the board. My name is Rich Ruggles. I'm the Planning Services Manager for the City of Kingman. So I will begin this meeting by providing a PowerPoint presentation regarding the variance request that's before us this evening. Following my presentation, the board is welcome to ask any questions about the case. Following that, the applicant may then present their testimony regarding the reasons they are seeking the variance. There was some additional information that was sent out to all of you from Cal Ranch. Some additional testimony was sent a few days ago. And as their written testimony, they're welcome to present that information. Following the applicant's testimony, the board may ask any questions of the applicant, and then once all questions are answered, the board may then debate the request in open session. Once the debate is completed, there'll need to be motions made as to whether or not to approve the variance. So I'll begin by sharing my screen. I think I have to open this first. Nope. Do I click on this?
Rich, I'd like to say that I really apologize. I had 5:30 on my calendar, but since you guys had a hard time getting on, I was able to go through this. And I'm very familiar with this building and what's going on, so I feel better about it. But I'm sorry I held you guys up.
Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully you can all see the screen now. Everyone can see the screen okay?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great, okay. Sorry, we're all new to Zoom, and we're doing the best we can here. So this is variance case VA 20-001. It's a request from the sign code for a second freestanding sign at 3340 East Anne Divine Avenue. The applicant in this case is Discount Signs, and the property owner is Kingman Plaza LLC. Ben Leparn is the property owner. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a second freestanding sign at the rear of property located at 3340 East Anne Divine Avenue. The sign code normally allows only one freestanding sign for each street a property abuts when the property has less than 600 feet of frontage. The items for review that are being considered this evening include the Arizona Revised Statutes and Kingman Zoning Ordinance sections 25 and 28. So this is just to familiarize everyone with the location. Cal Ranch is proposed to go into a portion of the old Kmart building, for those of you that are familiar with that here in Kingman. The map shows the approximate location of that, the store. The proposed sign will be located in the rear of the building. There's an existing freestanding sign along the end of Divine frontage currently. That's 120 square feet. The property is zone C3 commercial service business. There's I-1 zoning directly to the southeast of the site where the railroad tracks are located. Beyond that, there's some single family zoning. This is a chronology and explanation of the variance request. On September 24th, 2020, the applicant submitted to the City of Kingman a sign permit application on behalf of the owner. The application proposed a 70-foot tall, 300 square foot freestanding sign in the rear of the property located at 3340 East Anne Divine for a tenant, Cal Ranch. The proposed sign meets the definition of a freestanding sign within our sign code. Currently, there's a 120 square foot freestanding sign located on the Anne Divine frontage. So this would be the second sign they're requesting for the site. The property has about 300 feet of linear frontage. As mentioned, when you have less than 600 feet of linear frontage, you're allowed one freestanding sign. If you have more than 600 feet, you're allowed a second sign as long as you don't intersect it with another street. And 300 square feet is the maximum size allowed for any sign. Also, the sign where it's proposed to be located in the rear of the property will be within the interstate corridor. And that area allows freestanding signs to be up to 40 feet above the finished grade of the interstate. And that is measured at the highest point of the interchange. Based on the elevation at the sign base, the sign will not exceed the maximum allowable height at 70 feet. The permit for the second freestanding sign was denied, however, by staff because the subject property has less than 600 feet of linear frontage abutting in Divine, and also does not front on a second street. This is just kind of a schematic of the sign as proposed. So on October 15th, 2020, the applicant Discount Signs representing Cal Ranch and the property owner, Kingman Plaza LLC, applied for a variance from the sign code. There was a letter of explanation that was provided by the applicant as to the rationale for why they were seeking a variance for a second sign. In their narrative, they state that in summary, we ask you to consider and accept our proposal for the following reasons. One, the sign would attract more people to the adjoining businesses and this part of the city. The building and the property are very large and adequate street signage is needed to support it. Cal Ranch brand recognition will pull customers off of Avenue Divine, Route 66, as well as Interstate 40. Other neighboring businesses will also have multiple signs to attract from these two major roads. And then the proposed 300 square foot sign will be located at the back of the property, and therefore it will not detract from the current sign that's facing Avenue Divine. The distance between the signs is over 450 feet, and this is more than the required distance of 200 feet. We have a couple of photos of the sign location. First one on the left is the rear of the building, showing where it will be located. The second photo to the right is actually a Google Street View photo. We sort of superimposed the sign in the photograph to show approximately what it would look like from the freeway. And the applicant has stated that the proposed sign is needed in the proposed location because it would be visible from I-40. We notified the surrounding property owners within 300 feet. We notified or posted notice on the site. There was a public notice published on November 1st and again on November 22nd regarding the variance request. And we didn't receive any comments from the public. As far as department agency comments are concerned, the City Economic Development Department stated that Cal Ranch is bringing new jobs, revenue, and new retail to the city of Kingman. The income store is filling a large portion of the old Kmart building that's sat vacant for years. There has been a lot of time and money spent by the plaza owner and the Cal Ranch to make Kingman home to Cal Ranch. Cal Ranch sale products will be needed by those in Kingman and the region. Cal Ranch needs to have the second pole sign so it can be viewed from the interstate to assist with marketing those to those who pass through Kingman daily. Cal Ranch and the economic development team want to see those who are passing through to stop in Kingman and explore Cal Ranch store and in the city. We believe the sign will be beneficial to the store and the community. We didn't receive any other comments or objections from any other departments or agencies. So under state statute, a variance can be granted by the Board of Adjustment from the zoning ordinance if there are special circumstances applicable to the property because of size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings, that the strict application of the zoning ordinance will deprive the property of privileges enjoyed by other properties of the same classification in the same zoning district. So we, the staff, have provided analysis on the question of whether there are seem to be any special circumstances applicable to the property. First is the property size. As mentioned, properties that have over 600 feet of linear frontage are permitted to have a second freestanding sign. Therefore, the size of the property does have some bearing on the ability to have a second sign. The subject site is the second largest property in the immediate area between I-40 and Airway, and there is no property that has 600 feet or more frontage on that street. All the properties on the southeast side of Avenue Divine mostly front on just one street. The ones that are on the other side of Avenue Divine front on actually typically two streets. The subject property is not the only property in there that's limited to one sign, so it would be difficult to argue that the lack of a second sign deprives the property of privileges enjoyed by others in the area. The next item to consider is the property shape. The shape of the property is rectangular with about 300 feet of frontage on Avenue Divine and has a depth of about 570 feet. The property owner actually recently reduced the property frontage on Avenue Divine from 400 feet to 300 feet, which with the approval of a parcel plat, this was carved out to create a pad for the human being coffee shop on the property. The shape of the property does not directly affect the number of signs that may be on the property, although it could have some effect on the size of the sign if the street frontage was minimal. However, the size of the sign is not subject to the variance request. Therefore, property shape does not suggest a special circumstance. Next would be property topography. The sign is proposed to be placed near the highest point of the property behind the existing building within the interstate corridor, which allows freestanding signs to be up to 40 feet in height above the finished grade of the interstate. And the highest point is defined as the highest point of the interchange. I'll bring up a map here that shows the areas in sort of the orange color there below the dashed line. That area is the interstate corridor. That's the area within 1,000 feet of the right of way. And you can see where the proposed sign location would be within that interstate corridor. Where the existing freestanding sign is on the end of line, that is outside the corridor. And so that sign could not be raised higher than 40 feet above the grade at that location. As I mentioned, the sign is proposed to be 70 feet in height. And this is allowable because the ground elevation is more than 30 feet lower than the highest point of the interchange. So 70-foot tall sign is allowable. In many ways, the topography actually works in favor of the owner because it allows for a taller sign at this location than what otherwise may be permitted. So the height of the sign really is not subject to the variance request. Therefore, the topography does not suggest a special circumstance. And finally, we have the property location and surroundings. As I mentioned, the property lies partly within the interstate corridor, which would allow the taller sign in the portion that's within the corridor. This taller sign height is a privilege enjoyed by other properties that are located within the interstate corridor. They're within 1,000 feet of I-40. It's not available to all properties in the area that are more than 1,000 feet outside the interstate corridor. The applicant does mention that there are other properties in the area with more than one freestanding sign. We did determine that there are two properties that front on just one street. In Divine, they have two freestanding signs in this area. One actually was for the truck stop to the south of this location. There was a variance approved in 1983 for a second freestanding sign. So that's why they have a second sign on that property. There's also a Chevron gas station to the south. There are two signs on that property as well. We were not able to determine the reason that there's a second sign on that property. It may be because it was there prior to when it was annexed into the city in the early 70s, but we were able to determine that reason. There have also been a couple of variances that have been denied in this area for additional signs. Variances that are granted or denied in the past, however, do not set a precedent for future approvals or denials. So in summary, an argument could be made that a new sign is needed in the proposed location because it's within the interstate corridor and they need to take advantage of that location for the taller sign height. And that is something that is allowed by other properties in the interstate corridor. However, the alternative would be to remove that existing freestanding sign along the Vine and replace it with the taller sign in the rear of the property to achieve the greater visibility as desired. If they were to do that, replace signs, that would not require variance. So at this point, the Board of Adjustment will need to consider the overall circumstances of the location and surroundings to determine if there is a special circumstance that would justify granting the variance. So the Board of Adjustment's actions this evening, what's before you to consider is that pursuant to the zoning ordinance of the City of Kingman, the Board of Adjustment shall by concurring vote of majority make a ruling on the request for the variance. In its ruling, the board shall make findings for the record that either A, that there are special circumstances applicable to the property, such as the strict application of the zoning ordinance will deprive the property of privileges enjoyed by others of the same classification in the same zoning district, or B, that the request does not meet the statutory requirements for the requested variance. Any variance that is granted may be subject to conditions that will assure that the adjustment authorized shall not constitute a grant of special privileges that is inconsistent with limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone in which the property is located. So that concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions that the board members have at this point.
I got a question.
Okay.
On the back of the building, we have the BNSF property, railroad tracks, and then we have Eastern paralleling the railroad tracks. Would Eastern be considered an abutment road?
It wouldn't in this case. The right of way for the railroad is in between Eastern and the property. So the railroad essentially abuts the property, and the railroad is not considered street frontage.
Gotcha. Because I was thinking the amount of traffic that goes down Eastern is almost equal to that up on the freeway at times, and would give a real good view of the sign from there.
Yeah, if Eastern directly abutted this property, if the railroad wasn't there, then the answer would be yes, they would have a second street frontage, and yes, they could potentially have a second sign.
And with this tearing down, removing the freestanding sign on Andy Devine and putting the sign on the building itself, then they could have their big, tall 70-foot sign in the back that could be seen from 360 degrees practically, as far as I could see. Am I correct?
Well, they have a separate sign permit for signs on the building, which, and I don't know if they've maxed out the most they can have on the building. I'd have to check that sign permit. But
that's
the sign,
only two square feet per
linear
foot.
frontage. Yeah. The freestanding sign that we're referring to in here is there on Andy Devine. That is, I think, 120 square feet. So that actually could be made larger, but it can't be made taller because it's not within the corridor.
Right.
So the option of removing that freestanding sign and putting up the taller sign in the back is an option for them if they so chose to do that. They would have the taller sign and larger sign, but they wouldn't be able to have two.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the only questions I had that I can think of at the moment.
The current sign that will be along Andy Devine Avenue will only be seen from Andy Devine. It does not allow for seeing the sign from the freeway or anywhere else, correct?
Yeah, the current sign, I'm not sure if it's 40 feet tall or not, but it certainly is lower than what they could have at the proposed sign location, because it would be outside the corridor.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. If there's no other questions, we can, Vice Chair Furman, you can ask the applicant provide their testimony at this point in time, if there are no other questions of me at this point.
Okay, if there is no other questions at this point, will the applicant provide his testimony, please?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so a couple of the facts that were on this thing was that sign is on the rear of the complex, which is greater than 300 feet, approximately 450 feet is what Rich was saying. And it is greatly visible from I-40, whereas the existing sign on the front is at a 30-foot height and is practically invisible until you get right up on it. I'll be honest with you, right now, I am working with the landowner to replace that front sign to be a multi-tenant sign so that it actually lights up and looks good and works for all of those current tenants in that area. It's not going to be increasing the square footage of the sign by much. We definitely wouldn't be maxing out that 300 square feet. And somebody had had a question regarding the square footage on the building of the sign. I think we were right at 150 square feet, if that answers your question.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, by all means, go ahead.
I was curious, do you know approximately how many people Cal Ranch will be employing?
Yes, this is Scott Woodrow, the operations manager for Cal Ranch. And to answer that question, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear me, I'm jumping in. But it's, we will employ approximately 40 people at that location.
Okay. I was reading through the packet and they were saying estimated about 100, so that's why I asked.
No, it'll be about 40 people. During peak seasons, we increase up an additional 10 to 15. And then with the current traffic flow, if I may, the reason we're asking for this variance is, as coming to the city of Kingman, we're looking to help work with the city as well as to revive the economic conditions of this area. We're excited to be there. We truly feel that having the sign, the big freeway sign out there, the second sign, is crucial to drawing people off of the freeway that travel between Phoenix and Vegas to bring them into the area. In general, we average about 100,000, about 100,000 people on average into the store each year. And so we're asking for this so that it will help us drive that economic boom in the city, as well as help to support the other retailers closely around us in that area. We don't feel that asking for the sign is unsubstantiated, looking at the other entities in the area.
I've done business with Cal Ranch in Flagstaff, and I know there is no signage that I have seen on the freeway where all the traffic is, and it's quite a ways off of Route 66.
Yeah, in Flagstaff, we're actually about 8 miles off the freeway. So a sign there really wouldn't make sense. But here, where we're right next to the freeway, and we have the corridor where it can be seen from I-40, then that would help direct the people off of the freeway into the city of Kingman, into this area.
And it would give them about 1 mile to get slowed down before they have to make the turn off onto Andy Divine off the freeway. So that's a plus as far as I can see. Even the one in northern Las Vegas, I've frequented that store, and it's a hard one to spot from the freeway when you're doing 70 miles an hour. So this would be ideal, in my estimation, for a visual.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, Rich, are we calling to the public? Is there anybody else that is wanting to speak?
My understanding is that we have not had any comments from the public that asked to speak on this subject. So at this point, if there's no comments or no further questions of the applicant, the board can begin its debate on the question of the variance.
Okay, can I have Dawn address each of the commissioners to discuss what their thoughts?
Sure. Commissioner Russell?
Well, my thought on it is it would be a plus for the city of Kingman to have that store here, with the people that have livestock in the 50-mile radius of Kingman. It's a lot more accessible to them than taking a large truck downtown to Tractor Supply, for instance. And in my experience with Cow Ranch, their inventory is such that I think would attract a larger clientele than what Tractor Supply does. I am really in favor of granting this variance.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Maroney?
I read that the Economic Commission thinks it's a good deal for the city. And I believe that having two of the businesses providing for our citizens is a good deal. And if the sign can draw in people coming off the freeway and bringing those tax dollars and jobs to Kingman, then I'm all for it.
Thank you. Commissioner Russell?
I gave my opinion, I thought.
I'm sorry, you did. Commissioner Ortman?
You know, I'm looking at the property behind it. I know what runs down Eastern. Most of it is, a lot of it there is industrial. You've got the truck stop next door. This won't do anything bad at all. I think it will add to what we've got going. Let people know you can get off on Andy Devine and get something instead of having to go up to Stockton Hill to do all your business. I think it's excellent. If they can bring people in and fill that building, I think we need to do everything we can to help them do that.
Thank you. Commissioner Reynolds? Commissioner Furman?
I too am in favor of having the larger sign. The only thing is I think that there should be just the one sign, where the signage on Andy Devine should probably then be taken down if we're gonna agree to have the taller sign placed at the rear of the property. That is what I'm thinking would be best. I agree that the signage will attract many consumers. It'll support reducing traffic on Stockton Hill with the big rigs that really cause traffic congestion between the exit through to Airway due to all the the businesses in that section. So I think this is a very supportive thing. It's just the secondary sign should be the primary sign, is what I think. So that being said, has everybody been addressed through the debate portion?
Yes.
Thank you.
One more little thing I would like to say on the existing sign on Andy Devine, is that the monument sign that has a cluster of signs on it, outlet stores on it as well?
I believe currently it just has Ashley Furniture is the only one on that sign that's out at the front currently.
Okay, so that is
yes.
the monument sign there now.
That is
that huge as far as I'm concerned, And by the time they put another sign on it, it would probably be about the same size as what Ashley Furniture Store sign is, wouldn't it be, as far as the amount of square footage they're allowed on that particular sign? Am I mistaken on that?
Well, if it's currently 120 square feet, it could be up to 300 square feet in size, so it could be more than double its current size.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Does anybody want to open up the voting or make, what is it called, Rich?
Yeah, you'd call for any motions to consider approval of
Thank you.
the variance.
Is there any motions to consider the approval of the variance?
I will make the motion that we approve the variance for the second sign behind the premises.
Does anybody second the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Can we do a vote with, Dawn, will you go around and get the approvals or the denial, or all of the pieces, please? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank
Commissioner Furman,
you. Aye.
Commissioner Maroney,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortman,
Aye.
Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
motion has been approved.
Thank you all for voting and participating in tonight's meeting. Rich, there isn't anything left on the agenda, correct?
The only other thing is a call to the public, but and I believe Don will confirm that we did not get any comments from the public. Would that be correct?
That is correct. We did not get anything from the public.
Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Commissioner?
Yes.
From Cal Ranch, we would just like to tell you thank you for this approval, and we look forward to doing lots and lots of business with City of Kingman over the next few years.
Much appreciated. Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time.
Jared, this is Jared Marks. I just wanted to say thank you also, guys, and I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. At this time, we'll adjourn. Dawn, if you can record the time.
We are adjourning at 6:06 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.